You may now wonder, so why did we deal with this conditional logit model if it has this very limited substitution patterns? The thing is that there are extensions for the conditional logit model that allow much more flexible and more realistic substitution patterns. But let's first take a look at a simple example. So we assume we have 4 products. Products A and B are almost identical. So think of 2 very similar sport cars. And also products C and D are almost identical. Or say 2 very similar family cars. And for simplicity, each of the products shall have the same total expected market share of exactly 1/4. Now this would mean that a conditional logit model without consumer characteristics would predict that the price increase by product A, so one of the sport cars, has the same effect on the demand for product B, C, and D, because all of them have the same market share. That's what we have discussed above. But of course that's not so realistic, because A is a sports car. We would assume that it has a higher impact on the other sport car B than on the family cars C and D. Now assume that we have 2 equally sized consumer groups, which are indexed by I, so we have I1 and I2. And one of the consumer groups prefers the sports cars, and the other the family cars. So the market share should be like this. So here we have very extreme numbers to make the computation simpler. So assume within consumer group 1, basically the market share of sport car A is 1/2 and sport car B is 1/2, while the market shares of the family cars are 0. And in the consumer group 2, think of families, the family cars C and D both have a market share of 1/2. And both consumer groups are the same, so the total market share is 1/4 for each. And within each consumer group, the demand shall be characterized by a simple conditional logit model that doesn't have any particular consumer characteristics, so demand utility only depends on the car attributes. But we may have different utility functions, and we have different utility functions for consumer group 1 and consumer group 2. But within each consumer group, demand is characterized by the conditional logit model. Now the question I want to ask you, does this model where we have the 2 consumer groups allow for more flexible substitution patterns? So will it be the fact with this 2 consumer group that if we increase the price of product A, that it has a bigger effect on the other sports car B than on the family cars? Make a guess.